You know the feeling exactly. You are completely exhausted, but you aren't actually starving. You just ate a full meal, yet 60 minutes later, that dreaded 3 p.m. crash hits you so hard it feels like your brain has just shut down. You look in the mirror and you see a physical contradiction. You are carrying extra weight around your midsection, which is literally stored energy, yet your cells are screaming that they are empty. It's that sensation of heavy limbs and persistent fatigue that a full night of sleep just doesn't fix, the kind of exhaustion your doctor dismisses as just getting older or having too much stress. But here is the trap. You've been told the solution is to simply eat more fruits and vegetables and byproducts fortified with vitamins. You are following the rules, eating the fortified grains and the plant-based salads, assuming your body can use what you're giving it. But the reality is, you are likely suffering from a condition called synthetic nutrient mismatch. We are currently living through an epidemic of Type B malnutrition. We are overfed on calories, but we are starving for the specific spark plugs needed to burn them. Your inability to lose weight and the chronic brain fog are not character flaws. They aren't a lack of willpower. They are symptoms of cellular starvation. Your metabolism hasn't slowed down because of age. It is stalled because your mitochondria, your energy engines, are missing two specific molecules needed to turn food into power. You are feeding your body, but because of a breakdown in how we process synthetic nutrients and plant precursors, your cells effectively cannot unlock the fuel, leading to a breakdown in your gut barrier and systemic inflammation. Today, we are going to fix that mismatch and restart the engine. To understand why you feel like a battery that refuses to hold a charge, we have to look directly at the engine itself. Biologically, this comes down to a process called mitochondrial bioenergetics, specifically within the electron transport chain. This is the assembly line where your body turns the food you eat into the energy you feel. But for this assembly line to work, for it to produce ATP, which is the only currency of energy your cells accept, it requires very specific raw materials. And right now, because of that nutrient mismatch we talked about, your assembly line is missing two critical components, coenzyme 10 guatemalan quetzals and retinol. I want you to visualize your mitochondria not as a biology textbook diagram, but as a massive hydroelectric dam. In a healthy metabolism, the water, which represents the electrons from your food, flows rapidly down a river toward the dam. Waiting in the water is a fleet of small, agile ferries. These ferries are coenzyme 10 guatemalan quetzals. Their job is to rapidly transport those electrons across the river to the turbines. When the ferries are working, the turbines spin furiously, generating bright, consistent electricity that lights up the city of your body. Your brain is sharp, your muscles are primed, and you burn through fuel effortlessly. But here is what is happening inside your cells right now. Because you are relying on synthetic nutrients that don't convert well, those ferries, the CoQ10, effectively disappear. The river flow stops. That rushing water turns into a stagnant green swamp. But the pressure doesn't stop. The water keeps piling up behind the dam until it bursts over the walls. In biology, we call this toxic exhaust or reactive oxygen species. Instead of spinning the turbines to create energy, the pressure rusts the machinery and grinds it to a halt. The lights in the city, your brain and your muscles, begin to flicker and dim. This is why you feel heavy. The fuel is there, but the machinery is broken. There is a second layer to this malfunction. We need to look at retinol, which is true vitamin A. Most people think of this as just something for their eyes, but recent studies from 2020 to 2025 have confirmed that retinol acts as an essential electron carrier. Think of retinol not as a nutrient, but as a physical key. This key is needed to unlock a specific door called pyruvate dehydrogenase. This is the main entry door to the mitochondrial furnace. Without active retinol, that door stays locked. So, you eat a meal. The fuel, the sugar, arrives at the factory, but it can't get inside. It piles up outside the door, rotting and turning into a sticky syrup. This is glycation. While the inside of the factory remains dark and cold, the outside becomes toxic. You are literally swimming in fuel that you cannot burn. If this internal starvation continues, the damage moves to your organs. Your liver, which requires massive amounts of energy to filter toxins, becomes overwhelmed. It begins to suffocate in its own storage. This develops into what we call metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease, or MASLD. The liver cells, unable to burn fat for fuel, balloon up, leading to fibrosis. Your body's primary filter becomes clogged, recirculating toxins back into your blood. Research indicates that nearly 30% of the global population now has this condition, and it links directly back to this mitochondrial failure to oxidize fatty acids. You aren't just tired, your engine is flooded. So, how do we get from microscopic engines failing inside your cells to the bloating, brain fog, and stubborn weight gain you see in the mirror? This is the pivot point where most people get lost, but it's actually where the biology becomes undeniable. The connection lies in the gut-brain mitochondria triad. You see, we often think of the gut as just a tube for food, but biologically it is a fortress wall that protects your bloodstream. And just like any high-tech security system, keeping that wall secure requires a massive, constant supply of electricity. Your gut lining is held together by something called tight junctions. These are microscopic seals between your cells. I want you to visualize this gut lining as a tightly sealed heavy-duty zipper made of proteins called zonula occludens. In a healthy body with working mitochondria, that zipper is pulled tight. It keeps your food inside the gut where it belongs, and it keeps your blood pure. But maintaining that seal is an energy-expensive process. It costs a fortune in ATP to keep that zipper locked. When your mitochondria starve, because of that nutrient mismatch we just discussed, the check bounces. The cells in your gut wall run out of power. Because they lack energy, that zipper begins to fray and eventually it pops open. This is the mechanical definition of leaky gut. It's not just a buzzword, it is an energy crisis. Once that zipper opens, the invasion begins. Toxic particles called lipopolysaccharides, or LPs, drift through the breach. Visualize these LPS particles as spiky green burrs. They escape the digestive tract and enter your bloodstream. This triggers a domino effect that ruins your metabolism. Step 1 was the synthetic nutrient mismatch that starved the mitochondria. Step 2 is the energy failure causing the zipper to pop. Step 3 is these toxic spiky burrs entering your blood. Your immune system sees these intruders and immediately launches a full-scale attack. This creates systemic inflammation. And here is the kicker. When your body is inflamed, it signals your brain to shut down motivation, which you feel as fatigue. And it signals your fat cells to stop burning energy, known as leptin resistance. Your body thinks it is fighting a war, so it hoards every calorie it can get. Now, you might be thinking, but I eat healthy, I eat plenty of vegetables, and carrots for vitamin A. This brings us to the biggest myth in modern nutrition, and it is likely why your healthy diet isn't working. We have been told that carrots are a good source of vitamin A. The reality is, they aren't. Carrots contain beta-carotene, which is a precursor. It's like having crude oil when your car needs gasoline. You need a specific enzyme called BCMO1 to refine that crude oil into retinol, the active fuel your mitochondria need. Here is the problem. Genetic research shows that roughly 45% of the population carries a variant that reduces this enzyme's function by up to 69%. That means nearly half of you watching this can eat bags of carrots and huge salads every single day, and your mitochondria will still be starving because you physically cannot convert the plant precursor into the active retinol key. You are stuffed with beta-carotene, but your cells are empty of retinol. This genetic mismatch is exactly why the standard advice to just eat more plants fails for so many people struggling with fatigue and metabolic stalling. You aren't doing it wrong, you are just feeding a pathway that is genetically blocked. Now that we have identified the biological villain, we need to execute the recovery plan. This isn't about counting calories, it is about restoring the raw materials your engine needs to function. We are going to initiate what I call the Mitochondrial Restart Regimen. First, we have to stop the interference. You need to look at your labels immediately and eliminate the dirty inputs. The first thing to go is anything containing synthetic folic acid. This is found in most fortified flours, processed breads, and cheap multivitamins. Because of that genetic bottleneck we discussed, this synthetic form builds up in your system and can actually block your cells from absorbing the real nutrients. Second, stop relying solely on plant-based vitamin A. If you are a poor converter, eating massive amounts of carrots or sweet potatoes without a source of fat-soluble retinol is physically starving your mitochondria of that essential key. Instead, we are going to pivot to the clean inputs. Step 1 of the protocol is the bioavailable input. We need to reintroduce two specific foods that act as high-octane fuel for your cells, beef heart and beef liver. I know these might not be staples in your kitchen, but biologically, they are non-negotiable superfoods. Beef heart is the single richest source of coenzyme Q10 on the planet. It contains nearly 10 times the amount found in regular muscle meat. Remember those fairies in the river we visualized? Beef heart restocks that fleet, restoring the flow of electrons. Then we need beef liver. This provides preformed retinol. Unlike the beta-carotene in carrots, this form of vitamin A bypasses that genetic bottleneck completely. It activates a regulator called PKC delta, which effectively kicks down the door to the mitochondrial furnace and allows fuel to rush in. By introducing these just once a week, you are bypassing the blocked pathways and directly refueling the engine. Step 2 of the protocol is the metabolic switch. We need to implement a 16-8 intermittent fasting window. This means eating within an 8-hour window and resting your digestion for 16 hours. Here is why this matters for your mitochondria. When you fast, your insulin drops and your body triggers a process called autophagy. This is a cellular cleanup crew that identifies the zombie mitochondria, the broken, rusted engines that are leaking toxic exhaust, and recycles them. It forces your body to switch from sugar burning to lipolysis, engaging the backup generator genes that haven't been used in years. By combining the right fuel, CoQ10 and retinol, with the right timing, you are sealing that gut zipper, stopping the inflammation, and finally allowing your body to access its stored energy. But now that we've refueled your engines with the right nutrients and sealed the leaks, we need to talk about the signal that tells those engines how fast to run. Because even with a fixed engine, if the gas pedal is disconnected, you aren't going anywhere. Next, we are going to uncover how a condition called leptin resistance is making your brain think you are starving even when you're full, and exactly how to reset that signal.